Okay, so today we will be continuing with the complications of the fracture, and today I will be dealing with two topics: malunion and non-union. Though this may be a little bit broad topic for MBBS level, but I will try to be as concise in as basic as possible. Okay, so malunion. So we will our learning objective is to define, to see the etiology, the clinical pictures, treatment and prevention principles. So when a fracture fragment is joins in an unsatisfactory position, then that position may be in terms of unsatisfactory angulation, either rotation or shortening. The fracture is said to be malunited. This means the fracture has united, but it has united in an unsatisfactory position. For example, this shaft of femur united in a varus deformity. So again, malunited fracture. So the fracture has united, but it has united in a position which is not satisfactory for the functional well-being of the patient. Okay, so there is something called cross union. So this is a special type of malunion in which union does occur, but it happens when where there are two parallel bones. For example, in forearm we have radius and ulna. Similarly, in leg we have tibia and fibula. So when both the bone unite, but there is a union between the two bones. The radius unites with ulna unites with radius. So this is an example of malunion. This is an example of cross union. So cross union is again a type of malunion, especially in case of forearm. The one of the major function of forearm is supination and pronation. So if such cross union happens, supination and pronation is not possible at all. So what are the causes of malunion? So most common cause is improper treatment. Okay. So apart from that, there can be it can be because of the pull of the muscles. For example, in case of fracture of clavicle, the gravity pulls the fracture fragment downwards. So it allows fracture to be united in an abnormal position. Okay. So gradual collapse of a comminuted bone. For example, a Colles fracture, which usually occurs in elderly population with osteoporotic bones. So there is gradual collapse of the fracture, and such a fracture may go into a malunion. So where does malunion occur? Usually occurs at the metaphyseal region. So for example, supracondylar fracture of the humerus. So it is united in a varus position, also called as bone stroke deformity. Okay. Similarly, Colles fracture. So it is united in an abnormal dorsal tilt, intertrochanteric fracture. So remember, since the fracture here is uniting, the dictum is fractures at the end of the bone always unite, but they often malunite. So in the end of the bone, in the metaphyseal area where there is cancellous bone, the tendency of fracture to heal is much more than as compared to the cortical bone. So the fracture will unite, but if not properly treated, it can go into malunion. Okay, what are the consequences of the fracture? So it can lead to unacceptable cosmetic deformity. The patient may feel that these two limbs are not identical, so there is something happening with the bone. So unacceptable cosmetic deformity. So if it occurs in a abnormal position of a particular region, so for example, cross union of radius and ulna, malunion of radius and ulna, so there can be difficulty in functional outgoing, for example, supination and pronation. Okay. So also the contact stresses which pass across the joint. So it is not normal. The contact stresses which pass along the joint is not normal. So there is every chances that in the nearby joint, osteoarthritis may lead up in an earlier age. Okay. So what will be the clinical features? There will be history of trauma being treated. So on examination, the deformity is usually obvious. For example, here we can see that the fracture has the hand is in position of radial deviation. Okay. So after that, we will take X-rays. In X-rays, if you remember the distal radius being treated, so the height of the radius, usually the articular surface of radius is around 1 centimeter above than that of the articular surface of ulna. Okay, so it has collapsed. So we will take X-rays and rotational profile. We will shortly talk about the rotational profile in the subsequent slides. So what is the management? So there are some cases which will require no treatment, and in others some form of treatment is required. So when we do not require any treatment, if there is slight degree of malunion, and it has not caused any functional disability to the patient. Or the malunion has occurred in a child, so we do know that the child has a much more higher remodeling potential than that of adult. So, for example, a child is in the age group of 8 years, so he has still 7 to 8 years of growth being left. So, we expect such fractures to be remodeled. So, two places where no treatment can be done if the degree of malunion is very much less and it is not causing any disability to the patient, or if the malunion is expected to correct by remodeling, especially in case of children. What are the indications of treatment? So if there is any deformity, for example, bone stalk deformity in supracondylar fracture and humerus, if there is shortening, so in upper limb usually the shortening is not very much obvious, but if there is shortening in the lower limb, the child or the person usually has to work with a difficult gait or a limb. Or if there is any functional limitations, for example, malunion of forearm bones, and so the person cannot properly fully supinate and pronate the limb. Okay, what now? The aim of the treatment is to restore function, and but the aim from the perspective of the patient is aim may be to improve the appearance of the part. For example, if there is a malunited fracture of bone stalk deformity of humerus, so the parents may come because of the unappealing appearance of the elbow. So this may be especially true, especially in case of girls, and especially in the girls of a marrying age. So around 13-14 years of age, malunited supracondylar fracture girl, they usually come so as to get their upper limb corrected, okay, deformity corrected. So what is a treating surgeon, what we should understand, we should consider whether the malunion is affecting the function, or if it is likely to affect the function, what are the consequences with or without treatment. So it is not that we treat the axis of the patient. So remember the dictum, this I always like to tell. So do not treat the axis only, you have to treat the patient as a whole. So whether or not that malunion is affecting the function of the patient, so that will be the major determining point whether to go with the treatment, with some form of operative treatment, or to leave the fracture as such. Okay. So for example, if you see this fracture is angulated, so the angulation, I think maybe I have not measured it, so it may be around more than 30-35 degrees. So seeing an X-ray, we may think that okay, this fracture now needs corrective treatment. But if we look at the functional status of the patient, he is fully able to extend the limb, he is fully able to external rotate, he is fully able to internal rotate. So this person despite having this form of deformity, and again remember this, the muscle bulk being so much in the upper limb, the shortening will not be visible. In case of humerus, in the case of arm, the muscle, so there will be no obvious deformity seen from the outside, and he has no functional limitation. So we will counsel the patient not to go with any form of operative treatment. So this can be well managed without any treatment. Okay. Now, if we are thinking that okay, we should intervene the patient, so now our aim will be to evaluate the patient. So we want to evaluate the deformity. So we want to evaluate the deformity in terms of length, whether there is shortening or not, whether there is angulation or not, whether there is any form of rotation, or if there is a combination of all the above. Okay? So how do we measure length? Simply we can measure it from the of lower limb. We can measure from the anterior iliac spine to the medial malleus or lateral malleus. In the picture here it's shown lateral malleus, but usually we take it to the medial malleus. So we can measure the length, okay, true length or apparent length, or we can put a block. So we put something behind the short limb till the anterior superior iliac spine becomes on the same level, and we take the height of this block. So this will again give the length of the limb. Okay, we can take full length X-rays. So talking about angulation, we will do a major angulation by anterior and posterior and lateral views. and comparing with the contralateral side. So the board has given, especially in orthopedics, so we have identical, so left and right. So we compare, we take the on the other side to be normal, and we try to measure the angulation. Okay. So rotational profile can be done by clinical examination or CT. So clinical examination, so you should need not go into details. There are very much various angles that can be measured. So one of the easy thing is you ink the sole of the patient. Okay, the sole of the patient is ink colored by, so the blue color or blue ink, and a paper is placed in the ground, and he is asked to walk in a straight line. So if there is these two footprints are identical, there is no rotational deformity. If these two footprints are not identical, for example, one foot is going like this, excessive internal rotation or external rotation, that may be ODS. Okay. So other thing what we can do to assess the rotation is we can do a CT scan of the patient to look for the rotational profile. So now, after we have evaluated the patient, now what? We have to treat the patient. So what are the various methods of treatment? Osteoclasis, redoing the fracture, corrective osteotomy, and excision of the protruding bone. Osteoclasis means osteobone is breaking down or the fracturing. So this especially holds true in case of children, in which the fracture is managed conservatively. For example, radius and ulnar fracture, you have managed by closed reduction. The child comes to you on 3 weeks. You see that the fracture is going into malignant. So what would osteoclasis means? You break the fracture by closed means. You do closed reduction, you try to break the fracture, and you again realign and put in plaster. So that is an example of osteoclasis. So this is a closed method. The another method of treating is redoing the fracture surgically, meaning thereby you go inside, you open the fracture, you create the fracture, and then you fix it. So this is closed method, this is open method. So corrective osteotomy, sometimes what happens, we do not open the fracture is united, it is united in an abnormal position. So you do osteotomy, you cut the bone. So difference between 2 and 3 is in 2 the fracture has not united, so you are creating the same fracture line that had occurred. In corrective osteotomy, you cut the bone, so it may be at the fracture site, it may be away from the fracture site. So why it may be away from the fracture site? Because the fracture has already united. So there's no point opening the fracture again. So osteotomy can be done at a point far from the fracture site. And sometimes, especially this is especially true in case of clavicle. So clavicle being a subcutaneous bone that is visible from outside. So if there is a deformity, you can simply chisel out the bone. So the protruding spike or the protruding bone fragment, you can simply chisel out or you can nibble out. So this is an example. Supracondylar fracture of humerus united in an abnormal position, one stop deformity or pivotal varus deformity, treated by corrective osteotomy and fixed by screw. So if you see now both the limbs are identical and the malunion is corrected. Okay. So similarly, fracture tibial plateau malunited. The depressed portion is lifted up, and this gap is filled by a bone graft, and then again fixed with the plate. Okay. Similarly, so this was malunion being treated by screw, now plate and screw, and this is an example being treated by nail. So again, malunionated fracture realigned and put by a nail. So any form of a treatment, either plate or screw or nail, whatsoever, can be used for fixation after the correction of the deformity. So closing wedge and opening wedge osteotomy. So remember here. So this is an angulation here. Closing wedge means you cut a triangular bone. You put this triangular bone. You take out this piece. You move the fracture here. So again now the fracture will be aligned. So if you see, so this much an angulation. Now the fracture is nearly aligned, and now you fix with a plate. So this is an closing wedge osteotomy. And there is opening wedge osteotomy. So again fracture here. You cut the bone here. You open the gap. In the gap you put in bone graft, and that will be an opening wedge osteotomy. So again now the deformity is more so ever corrected. So this remember, this may be a little bit advanced for you. Remember, the various types of osteotomy can be done. examples are closing wedge, opening wedge. That is enough. You do not go into details. Again, in a simplified version, opening wedge, you cut the bone, you open the gap. In this gap, you put some bone graft. Okay. Closing wedge, you take out a triangular bone, you remove that bone, and you put a implant here. Also, we can go by Ilizarov method, or for correction of deformities, usually in the multiplanar deformities, whether multiplanar deformities, we can go by Ilizarov method. Okay. So prevention, regular checkup. If you are treating the fracture non-operatively most of the time, or sometimes, or even operative also, you have to do check regular X-rays to see whether the fracture is going into a malunited position or not. Okay. So if you think that your fracture is going to malunate, you may why regular follow-up. So in regular follow-up, you can intervene in an earlier date, and your form of intervention will be very much in the milder form. For example, a child, if malunited comes to you after 1 year, you have to do corrective osteotomy. So, but if you have regularly followed up the patient in 3 weeks, you think that your fracture is going to non-unite, you can do simply osteoclasis. So your mode of treatment will be different. So the prevention is regular check X-ray till the fracture unites, so that you feel the fracture is not going into malunion. Okay, so we'll now continue with the next subtopic, non-union. So non-union is established when a minimum of 9 months has elapsed in the injury and the fracture shows no visible progressive signs of healing in 3 months. So this was the definition given by FDF panel. So remember, in this definition we have 2 subpoints. One is the minimum of 9 months should elapse from the time of injury, and there should be no any signs of union in the last 3 months. No any signs of healing in the last 3 months. Okay. So union is delayed and fracture has ceased to show any evidence of healing for the last 3 months. So this is the definition of non-union. 9 months, no signs of healing for 3 months. Okay. But remember, there is some fallacies about this diagnosis. Sorry, this definition. Different bones have different healing time. So for example, in case of fracture neck of femur, we label it as non-union in as early as 3 months. So it's not that all the bones we put an arbitrary value of 9 months, but this is in definition. So most of the fractures are being covered. So some show potential of healing, but some do not. 9 months waiting for every fracture before starting treatment is impractical. For example, in case of fracture neck of femur, if you think that it is going into non-union in 3 or 4 months, you intervene at that one. You do not wait. My definition says that the fracture is to be labeled non-union only after 9 months. So I will wait after 1 month, 9 months. You come after 5 months, then I will treat. No, that's not the point. So you have to treat the categorize different fractures individually. Most of the time, in most of the long bone fractures, the 9 months is the arbitrary time. If within 9 months the fracture shows no bony signs of union, it is labeled as non-union. Okay. So because of that, the newer concept of non-union is the designation of non-union is made when the surgeon or the treating physician believes that the fracture is not going to unite unless and until it is intervened further. So if the surgeon thinks that if I do not intervene in this fracture, the fracture is not going to unite, then it is labeled as non-union. So for your level, if somebody asks the definition of fracture, you don't give this definition. Your definition is this: minimum of 9 months or with no 3 months progressive signs of healing. Okay. So why fallacies? Because sometimes in fracture neck of femur we take it as non-union as early as 3 months, and fracture long bone of long bones, for example, femur fracture or tibia fracture. So we do not label it as non-union as till 6 months. So for example, you should at least you should not say that okay, it has already been 4 months, your fracture is not united, it is not going to unite, now you have to intervene. In case of fracture, long bone fractures, you have to wait minimum of 6 to 9 months, but in some few exceptions like fracture neck of femur, non-union can be diagnosed as early as 3 months. So delayed union, if the fracture is not uniting within expected time. So in this delayed union, the fracture is uniting. It's not that there is no progressive signs of healing. The fracture is uniting, but it's taking more time. For example, in a normal adult 25 years of age, if tibia unites by say 9 months, but this person, if you see at a 9 months, some amount of callus is there, but it is not completely united. So his fracture may unite by 12 months or say 1.5 years also. So the fracture is showing some signs of healing, but it is taking more time than normal. So in such a case, we define the term, we take the term delayed union. Okay. Another definition, pseudoarthrosis. If there is non-union, so what will happen? There will be fibrous tissue along the joint. Okay, so there will be formation of a pseudomembrane along the joint, and it will act as a false joint. So there will be no pain. There will be abnormal mobility at the side of the fracture, and so it will behave like a false joint. So hence the term pseudoarthrosis. So this is an example of non-union. So the fracture has not united, and the body has created a false joint around the fracture. So the term pseudoarthrosis. Causes of non-union: poor vascularity, instability, infection, or there can be other causes. So why poor vascularity? What the first stage of healing? Fracture of hematoma formation, then granulation tissue. So for hematoma to form, for granulation tissue to come, for angiogenesis to happen, so there should be adequate amount of vascularity. So if there is an open fracture of such a devastating injury, all the soft tissues around the fracture will have a poor vascularity, and this fracture is very much likely to go into non-union. So it can be either be traumatic or it can be iatrogenic. For example, there is a fracture of tibia here, and you have given such a big incision from here to here, all the bone has been exposed. You have done a beautiful surgery, but what we have done, we have put the soft tissue into compromise. So there is always every chance that this fracture can also go into non-union. So poor vascularity either due to trauma or due to the type of the surgery that is being done. So instability. So such a such a big diameter medullary cavity bone, you put a simple flexible nail or a TENS. So TENS is very much flexible. The fracture is mobile, so it may go into non-union. So inadequate immobilization. If your mode of immobilization is not there, so again it can go into non-union. If there is infection, so look here, it was an open fracture. There is an infection. Even the plate and the bone is exposed to the external environment. So this is 100% not going to unite. Okay, so the other cause is infection. So what are the various risk factors? Risk factors can be either local or systemic. Local are open fractures, high energy fractures with bone devitalization, severe soft tissue injury, if there is a bone loss, if there is infection. Okay, the other factors can be iatrogenic fractures, or the southern in fractures could be poor reduction. The reduction is not good, or the fixation is unstable. So you have for children supracondylar fracture, putting a key wire is accepted, but in case of 35 years old adult patient supracondylar fracture, you fix with only 2 key wires, so that is not accepted. That form of fixation is very much unstable, and it can go into non-union. Or excessive bone devitalization, doing a massively open technique. Systemic factors can be malunion, smoking, NSAIDs, or diabetes, paraplegic, chronic alcoholism, and patient non-compliance. So remember, the fourth point of fracture treatment is fracture. We recognize the fracture, we reduce it, we retain it, we rehab the patient. Okay. So if the person is not doing the proper rehabilitation, again that can go, the person can land into non-union. So I have underlined the smoking and use of analgesics. So these are the most common form of non-union that we see in our scenario. So you have to advise your patient, especially in long bone fractures, you should quit smoking, you should quit tobacco, and you should not take excessive amount of analgesics. So if the pain is tolerable, please do not take any excessive amount of analgesics. Okay, so that should be your advice. So there are various ways of classifying non-union. Based upon the site, it can be non-union, can be at the metaphysis, or it can be at the diaphysis. If it is at the metaphysis, it can be extra-articular, not going till the bone, or if there is an intra-articular fracture, it can be intra-articular non-union. Okay, depending on the amount of the callus formed, hypertrophic callus, oligotropic callus, atrophic callus. Atrophic, no callus formation. Oligotropic, some amount of callus formation. Hypertrophic, excessive amount of callus formation, but still no union. So based upon the infection, if there is infection, it is infected type of non-union. If it is not infected, it is an aseptic type of non-union. So don't go into very much details. I am giving simply given examples. This is an hypertrophic type of non-union, oligotropic type of non-union, again oligotropic type of non-union. So it has been given different names. So it resembles the foot of the elephant. So this is an example of elephant foot, horse hoof, oligotropic. Don't go into details of this. Again, don't go into details of this. This is an atrophic type of non-union. Remember, the non-union can be hypertrophic, excessive callus, atrophic, no callus, oligotropic, few amount of callus. That's enough for you. Okay. So how do we diagnose? If there is persistent pain, remember, but if the non-union has reached at an stage that pseudoarthrosis or false joint is formed, so at that time there will be no pain. Okay, so but before that there will be persistent pain, because how do you know, or how do you assess if the fracture is united? There should be no tenderness at the fracture site. Okay, if the fracture is not united, there will be persistent pain. But again, the exception is if there is pseudoarthrosis, there will be no pain. Okay, persistent pain, non-physiologic motion. Do you expect any motion at the arm? No. There will be no amount of there is motion at the shoulder joint, there is motion at the elbow joint. If there is some amount of motion at the arm, it is abnormal. So non-physiological motion, progressive deformity. And in X-rays, we see that the implant is failing or there is no evidence of healing. Okay. So what we look for in the X-ray? We do a serial radiological assessment is necessary. You cannot label it as non-union in a single shot X-ray, because what our definition says? Our definition says there should be no signs of union in last 3 months. So for last 3 months, you should have 1 or 2 some consecutive X-rays to label it as non-union. So what are the features you see? The fracture line will be visible. There will be no or minimal callus. The ends of the fracture will be sclerotic, and there will be no medullary cavity. You can see here is no medullary canal here. There is medullary canal here, but no medullary canal. The medullary canal is obliterated. The fracture ends are smooth, round, and sclerotic. So these are the radiological features of non-union. So examples of non-union of humerus, again foot kept by nail, again non-union. Okay. So sometimes we may do a stress radiograph. Why stress radiograph? To see whether there is motion at the fracture site or not. Because what we have said, if there is fracture is united, there should be no motion at the fracture site. If it is not united, there will be some amount of motion at the fracture site. So in varus and valgus, the angle is different. So angle is different means the fracture is moving. Added the fracture united, the angle in either the varus stage or valgus stage would have been equal. So what other thing we can do? We can do a varus X-rays. Again, what we can do? We can do a CT scan will give a better idea about non-union, about bone. Okay, we can go for CT. The X-ray shows this view. When you see CT, clearly there is the fracture line is visible, sclerotic, and no amount of callus formed. Okay. So what are the common sites of non-union? Fracture neck of femur, scaphoid, lower end of tibia, upper end of ulna, lateral condyle of humerus. You should not forget neck of femur, scaphoid and lateral condyle. So if anyone asks you what are the three common sites, you say neck of femur, scaphoid and lateral condyle of humerus. So how do we assess? Assessment, you assess by whether there is sufficient contact or not, whether the fracture is adequately aligned or not, if the fracture is stable or fracture fixation is stable or not, whether there is sufficient stimulation. For example, the patient has done a proper rehab or not. So the mnemonic is CASS: contact, alignment, stability, stimulation. Okay. So treatment, conservative treatment if the fracture is hypertrophic. So hypertrophic means excessive amount of callus is forming. But where is the fault? The fault is the fracture is not properly immobilized. So you simply, what you can do, you can simply do a proper fixation so that the fracture is unite, fracture will unite. There is no need of any excessive bone graft. But in atrophic or oligotrophic, you will need to exercise the bone fragment, exercise the soft tissue. You should fix the fracture and put the bone graft. So non-operative management can be by electromagnetic therapy, ultrasound therapy, laser therapy, bone morphogenic protein injection, or bone marrow injection. If you are planning to treat conservatively, operatively, your principal sheet, check whether or not there is infection. If infection, cure the infection is present, correct the deformity if significant, provide stability and add stimulus. So if there is infection, sometimes you have to take out the fracture, you have to debride, you have to put antibiotic, you can even have to put the local antibiotic beads. How do you add stability? You can add stability by means of external fixation, by plate or intermellular device. For example, stability being put by external fixator or the Eliezer rope. Stability being kept by plate. The offending plate has been removed. The newer construct has been made and a bone graft has been put. Or sometimes we can put a intermellular nailing. Okay. So if there is infection, there is open fracture, we usually do not go with plate and nail. We usually go with external fixation or Eliezer rope method. So how do we aid biology? You can give aspirated stem cells, demineralized bone matrix, growth factors, autogenous cancerous grafts can be kept to aid the biology to stimulate the fracture healing. Okay, clinical scenario: 68 years old female, after 8 months of injury, fracture humerus, it has not united. So what we have done, we have reduce the fracture, put the graft, put the plate, put a graft, and in 1 year no fracture line is visible. The fracture has united. Okay. Similarly, treated by plate and screws, fracture not uniting. Again kept a plate, after 1 year the fracture is united. Atrophic type of non-union, fixation done and kept a bone graft, and on subsequent follow-up the fracture united. Okay. Similarly, the fracture being united by use of hybrid external fixator, Eliezer rope external fixator. So these are some of the examples. So how do we prevent a non-union? So you should go for, from your point, you should go for as biological fixation as possible. You do not do such a massive surgery. You give minimal stab incisions and you slide the plate and you do fixation. So in these two scenarios, obviously there is very much less chances of non-union in case if this treatment modality is being selected. Okay. So the commonest cause of non-union is to failure to diagnose and to treat the delayed union. So diagnose as early as possible and give proper treatment as required. Okay, to summarize, the causes of disturbed bone healing could be abnormal vascularity, instability after fracture treatment or infection. Your principles of treatment will be to stabilize the fracture, to enhance the biology, and to treat the infection is present. Prevention, biological fixation in the original operation, and early recognition of delayed union and intervening in time. Okay, I think this is the last slide. We have still 3 minutes left. If you have any questions to ask, you can just put it in the chat box. So again, remember, this is not a very much. It is an important topic. You should know the complication of fracture, is non-union and malunion, but you do not have to go into details. Clinical sign. Okay, so again, what I said was the question is whether or not there is pain at the site of the fracture in case of non-union. So remember, if there is formation of pseudo membrane, if there is formation of pseudoarthrosis lined by fibrous tissue, there will be no pain. But in the initial stage, before the formation of pseudo membrane, sorry, not pseudo membrane, pseudo false joint, false synovial membrane. So till that point, there can be some amount of pain, persistent pain at the fracture site, because remember the fracture, one of the signs of healing is no pain at the fracture site. So till the time of pseudoarthrosis formation, till there is fibrous tissue, there can be some amount of pain. But when it is lined by fibrous tissue and a false membrane, there will be no pain. Okay.